Hello, you're tuned into AWANI Review with me, Cynthia Ng. Today we are addressing a challenge that many small business owners face, that is managing payroll. I'm sure there are many SMEs out there who knows the struggle. It is the end of the month, bills are piling up and payroll is due. But what happens when cash flow is tight? Joining me today is a fintech, RollingPay, that aims to help companies pay their employees and suppliers on time without compromising other financial obligations. Great to have both of you here, Cellou and Ridzuan, both are founders of RollingPay. Thank you so much for coming to our studio. It's great to have both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I think just to get our audience to know you a bit better, maybe we'll start off with understanding what is RollingPay and how this partnership came about.
Okay. RollingPay, we help small MSMEs with cash flow solutions, because we know that cash flow has been the biggest challenge that these small SMEs actually face on the day in, day out business. And the lack of cash flow also prevent these small SME to grow. And RollingPay wants to be a partner that provide fast, fair, and frictionless cash flow solution to these small SMEs. So number one, they can pay employees on time, like you mentioned, but also at the same time, they are able to get their raw materials from their vendors, their suppliers on time, and then they can increase their sales. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the motto of RollingPay, is really helping those small business owners make ends meet and make sure that, you know, from a cash flow perspective, that is not a problem anymore, and they can just focus on what they do best, which is growing their business.
All right, so not having to decide between keeping the lights on and paying your employees on time, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay, so can you get into more detail about what are the services offered? Because I understand number one, you're Sharia compliant entirely, and how do you approach evaluating businesses to come on board, and what do you see, what are the metrics do you see to decide, okay, this is a company that I might want to offer a line of credit?
Yeah. For us, maybe I take a little bit of a step back, right? So when we started RollingPay about 2.5, 3 years ago, we were actually giving out advance salary to employees of those small SMEs, right? And while having discussion with those business owners, the conversation quickly shifted from, hey, if you can give advance salary to my employees, how can you help me to have funds so that I can pay those employees on time, right? So we pivoted because we saw an opportunity to help the business owner pay all the employees that they have in one time, right? But of course, that also brought a different set of challenges that we had to tackle. The challenge of how do we ensure that the business owner has the right credit worthiness, the right ability and skill set to grow their business and also manage finances better. We know that traditionally the existing credit system put a lot of these small businesses
a lot of requirements.
A lot of requirements, a lot of collaterals. You know, it's a process that is heavy with paperwork. You know, you need your 3-year audited accounts. You know, for a lot of them, it's too much of a hassle to go through the traditional means, right? And getting a loan, and that's why some of them rely on quote unquote the allowance out there, which take advantage of these business owners. So we develop a solution that actually rely more on how the business is performing on a daily basis, how much sales are they doing, you know, what's the trend of their sales, you know, are the sales up, are the sales down, and we take that and we build an AI solution on top of their sales that understand their sales and actually give them a credit line that is fair, you know. So as an example, if you are making about 100,000 in sales a month, with RollingPay, you can get up to 60% of your sales has a credit line. But of course, we don't bank in that credit line into your pocket. It actually works like a credit card, right? You just get the limit, and with that limit, you are then able to pay your employees and your suppliers through our RollingPay financial dashboard as well that we give to these SME. So we find that this model is fast, right? No paperwork involved, is fair. We kind of look at actually how the business is performing. We look at the sales performance of the business. When the sales is up, your credit line goes up with it. If the sales are down, your credit line goes down. So it's very dynamic in nature, and it really helps address those businesses that otherwise would have been unserved and underserved in the market. Right.
So essentially, RollingPay has real-time visibility into sales data of a company that joins comes on board. Why is this so important? Maybe Ridzuan, you've been in the industry for a very long time in fintech. Maybe talk about the challenges that SMEs face and why having that visibility, it benefits both. Well, of course, you have the capability of evaluating how much money to give out, and then for SMEs, they also evaluate their own businesses real time and not wait until the end of the month.
Yep. So this is why the digital approach that we have is really important in terms of looking at the right data and the amount of data that needs to be analyzed. So the traditional or the incumbent institution do have similar data, but it's not enough to understand two factors that needs to be understood when it comes to providing credit, which is when you look at credit, you also must look at the repayment capabilities. And repayment would always go down to willingness of the borrower to pay, and then the ability of the borrower to pay. So with the data that we collected, we are able to make it easy and make it seamless for the borrower to repay. And this is why it becomes a very facilitating kind of solution, because we don't ask them to pay big chunks. We ask them to pay something that they can afford, something that is not disruptive to the business that they do, and then we leave running the business to them. But we take care of the portion of where it takes care of the employee salary as well as the suppliers that they are due to pay. So the digital solution helps to reconcile, reduce administrative burden, as well as giving transparency in terms of how the portion that they are taking from us to be further managed. And we will always give them back analytics in terms of how they need to run the business, and we give them some sort like an advice in terms of how the business actually can grow. And it is very, very detailed in terms of, because it's based on sales. It's not just about the total sales, but we go line by line in terms of what sells well, what didn't go so well, and we can even go down to on what day does the sales actually is really good for you. So there's so much more than just lending that we are actually dwelling with. We are giving them a newfound kind of a knowledge base as well as facilitation, because running business is not easy. A lot of people aspire to run business, but business acumen doesn't come that quick for those who wants to actually grow and wants to find the right partner in the market. Yeah,
okay.
So,
I like the fact that it's like doing a health check, right? Instead of a yearly health check, you have a daily assessment of how you are doing. I think that's great, especially for smaller businesses, so that, like you said, they can focus on running the business. This is very interesting because, like you said, not just providing loans, you have access to a wealth of data and you can help them improve, optimize their operations. So my next question then would be, loan disbursement of a credit line is just one part of the business, right? So what's next with all the wealth of data that RollingPay has in their hands of their clients? So what do you see is the future then in terms of payments, credit solutions?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, right, and like what Ridzuan mentioned just now, we are sitting on a pile of data, right, that we collect. And today what we are doing is just the tip of the iceberg, right? We are only looking at the data to be able to give the SME access to a credit line, right? That credit line, of course, is helping them make sure that payables are paid on time, suppliers are paid on time, raw material is there, employees are happy, and so on and so forth. But we have to remember the goal of a business is always to grow. So how do you get your business to, so if you're a cafe owner, for example, how do you go from 1 outlet to 10 outlets to 100 outlets, right? And at each stage in that growth, you are faced with different level of challenges. right? And this is where our data point is going to be working hand in hand with these business owners, so they know what's coming next. And we can guide them into how to go from 1 outlet to 10 outlets. Because from a cash flow perspective, this is where you have to be able to forecast, you have to be able to plan ahead, and you have to be able to allocate resources effectively. And with the data that we have and the collaboration with these business owners, we will give them additional insight, like what he mentioned before. How do you know which item sells well 10 in the morning on a Monday, for example, right? Of course, you can guess. But with the data that we have, we can accurately pinpoint, what kind of item you should focus, which supplier gives you the best rate. Because let's say if I'm buying sugar, for example, right? Are you getting the right or the fair market price from your supplier? Or is there a better supplier that can give you a better deal, So those are all the data points that we are having, that we are aggregating. And we are putting this into, the next phase is going to be really into an intelligent solution that, partner with the SME owner so that they know exactly how to go from, today I'm 1 store, I want to go to 10 stores, or today I'm 10 stores, how do I scale it to 100 stores, right? And RollingPay want to be part of that journey. So for us, credit is just the beginning. Yeah, it's our way to start working and helping these SMEs. But the future is brighter, especially with things like AI these days.
The interesting part about business is we've been talking about the other half, where we're talking about the sales part. Okay. But the other part that is also where we are eyeing and looking at expanding is the suppliers that is supplying to the micro SMEs. Okay, so they are relying on the SMEs to perform well, and we are sitting on the information that is telling the suppliers who's doing well and who's not doing well. So the suppliers will then be looking for us in terms of, hey, RollingPay, who are actually the SMEs that we can supply to and know that they can pay us back on time. So that opens up the other part of the ecosystem where the suppliers management can be another area where RollingPay can share similar information but with a different perspective for the suppliers to then understand how to help the micro SME to grow. So that opens up the supply and the demand flow that becomes the entire ecosystem for SME to grow and become a better SME, and for the suppliers to also ensure that they become, can find reliable businesses to support. So when you talk about suppliers, they are also potential for franchise master to behave like a supplier. Because when you have a franchise ecosystem, you have the franchise master as well as the franchisees. So the franchisees are the micro SMEs. The franchise master are the suppliers. So this dynamic actually can be served by us effectively with the solution that we have, because we see both sides. So that's a potential not for us to look into just Malaysia, but for any other parts of the world that are looking for solution like us.
Is it something that RollingPay has started working on?
Of course, we are. With digital, everything is possible.
Okay. Talk to us about technology, because you mentioned intelligence, right? You have a lot of AI insights into the wealth of data that you collect. Talk to us about how does that work in a broader sense for SMEs to understand, okay, so I have a lot of data I'm giving you. Of course, there may be some hesitations, like what's being taken, what's being used to my advantage, or maybe not to my advantage, if you can give us a sense of that.
We always wanted to start from a point where all SMEs understand, right? So today you walk into a shop, cafe, restaurant, you want to pay for your bill, you can do it different ways, right? You have a QR code, that's one option. You can use your debit card, your credit card, right? And most SMEs have a credit card machine, right? And so that's, or we call it a payment terminal. So that's kind of what everybody understands. So our pitch to SMEs is that we have a credit card machine, same like the credit card machine that you have in your shop. The difference is our credit card machine is smarter. It gives you credit he understands you better, and he acts as a partner to your business. So that's really the starting point. So working with RollingPay first is making sure that you are using our payment terminal to collect sales, right? It's something that all SME owners understand how it works. So no learning curve there, right? The next part is making sure that, you know, the data that we have actually is securely stored, safe. And this is where we work within PDPA. You know, data is, at the end of the day, belongs to the SME owner, right? They decide what level of information they want to grant to us in terms of the access that they need or the different functionalities in the system that they will need. Now, looking at data is just one part of it. Talking about technology, I think for us, things like ChatGPT were like a blessing in disguise that happened a year and a half ago, right? I think 10 years ago, building an AI solution would have been, you know, would have taken so much resources from startup. But these days, with cloud, with AI, things like ChatGPT, we are able to build language models or AI solutions, simply put, to actually better understand the data that we are getting from these SMEs. So that's kind of the way we are leveraging the data and the technology that we are using to actually help these SMEs. And of course, in the future, right, this is talking long term, we might be able to partner with other agencies or other organizations that might need our insights, right? But of course, guided and driven by PDPA and the level of access that the SME is willing to give out. You know? So that's kind of how we see working with data and technology overall.
So many fintech startups struggle to build trust, especially rolling out a new feature. So how do you go about, what strategies have RollingPay implemented to establish credibility among small business owners and to roll out this service that you have?
Yeah. I think what we've done for us, number one is position ourselves as a partner to business, right? In August last year, we partnered with an organization called Usahanita. So it's an organization, they have about 10,000 women-led MSMEs, right? Our goal was really to support them with our cash flow solution. That's one side of the partnership. But the other side was also to uplift the business acumen, like he was mentioning. You know, just think about someone who knows how to do nasi lemak. You know, I'm just a cook, right? But my nasi lemak sells so well that suddenly I have an Instagram page. You know, people start ordering from me, so on and so forth. And I need to hire people, but I don't know anything about business, right? So what we've done with Usahanita, we develop a curriculum, classes, whereby we actually teach for free. You know, these are small business owners on financial management, business 101, so that they can really have a big picture of, okay, this is my business, this is what it sells, this is how to manage my inventory, how to manage my suppliers, and how do I have a small system that works for me as a small business owner. So for us, that kind of help us to really build trust with the community and making sure that, you know, it's not just about, hey, I'm a fintech, I have a solution and I want you to subscribe to my solution, but it's really me coming as a partner, understand what is your challenges, help you, give you skills. And then, of course, if you decide to sign up with RollingPay, that's a different matter altogether. But for us, from a trust perspective, it's really working with the community at hand. Yeah.
I just want to add, the other thing that we emphasize really, I mean, all the time actually, is discipline. We don't just take any customers for that matter actually, because we want a legitimate, registered, and properly run entity. So what we meant by that is anyone who actually approach us, we want to make sure that they are properly registered with SSM, and then the classes that Cellou mentioned is something that Cellou and I and a few others in the RollingPay, actually we give them personally, we don't hire other people. We want to make sure that whoever are potentially going to be our customers really understand what business is all about in Malaysia context. Okay, and then we also want to make sure that they understand what are the risks of running business. So by going digital, by going cashless, you avoid risks that people might actually steal your cash. Let's say if you have a restaurant, if you take cash, you are vulnerable because even your employee might steal the cash.
Yeah.
But by going through us, there's very low risk that sales that you earn is going to be stolen from you. And then we also give them a 101 about what reconciliation is. Because reconciliation is an administrative nightmare to any businesses.
Yeah.
So these are the points and emphasis that we want businesses to understand, so that when they want to grow bigger, all these fundamentals point, including education, discipline, is going to be something that will guide them, no matter how big or how small they run the business. So with discipline, then we are really hoping that the financial management will be better, the business growth and the ability for them to scale will be better. So, and then the compliance with whatever requirement that they need to understand will be a cornerstone in terms of how they run the business. Even though if they run nasi lemak, discipline about cleanliness, discipline about customer service, about being nice to people, all these are really required. But if you think that people are just there to enjoy the nasi lemak and you neglect other things, you will have repeat customers. And this is what we are really aiming for, besides the solution that we talked about just now.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the few minutes that we have left, I do want to get a sense, okay, so let's say a business is looking at this discussion and thinking like, okay, how much do I actually have to pay? Like, because it's on a daily basis, right? It's not like at the end of the month you have to pay a chunk to a RollingPay. So give us a sense. If I'm making sales of 5,000 ringgit a day, how much payment do I have to pay to RollingPay?
Okay. So maybe a little bit of a step back, right? So if you're a small business today, right, you join RollingPay, you start using our terminal, our system, do the magic behind, and we allocate you a credit limit, say 50,000 or 60,000. So if you're making 100,000, you get about 60% of your sales in a credit line. So that's about 60,000, right? And suddenly, like you say, you have an invoice of 5,000 to pay your supplier, right? So what we'll do is, we will pay that supplier on your behalf, 5,000, okay? And for that service, you pay RollingPay processing fee. You know, we don't charge interest, no compounding or anything like that. It's a processing fee as and when you use the credit, you know. It's a pay-per-use concept. How much is the processing fee? It's cheaper than SST. We charge between 6.5% and 8%. And this is dynamic. Why? Because it depends on how much you are taking and how big of a business are you. So it's not one size fit all type of a pricing. It's really tailored to the specific SME. So for example, if you take that same example of 5,000, right? You pay about 300 ringgit as a processing fee. And that 5,000, you repay it on a daily basis, say about 50 ringgit for the next 90 days or 100 days, right? So from a small business owner, suddenly you have access to 5,000, you get your raw materials, right? And once you make your sales, you are repaying just 50 ringgit on a daily basis for a period of 3 months, you know, plus minus, right? So that's kind of the beauty of this, because we also realize working with a lot of them, coming back to the willingness to pay. Sometimes they have the ability, but willingness is a different matter. At the end of the day, if I'm only left with 5,000 in the bank account, right? The question is, who do I pay? You know, if
which do you choose?
Yeah,
which is more important?
Which one is more important? You know, and this is where we say, okay, you repay us small amounts, small chunks every day. So at the end of the month, or at the end of 3 months, you don't owe us anything. And that's kind of the beauty of this solution and how we actually partner with the small business owners.
Okay. Just final note, Ridzuan. First, this sounds to me like a very groundbreaking solution for businesses. Not only is fast, it's accessible, and you get real-time insights into your operations and cash flow. For RollingPay as a company, we didn't get much time to talk about it. What do you see? How do you see RollingPay growing in the next couple of years? Because it seems like you are aiming to do quite a bit in the ecosystem, with the ecosystem.
Well, the beauty of this business is we can be called fintech because of the solution that we give to the SMEs, but we also can be called techfin because we can give technology solution to even existing financial institution. Because this is really about looking at risks looking at risk management in a different perspective and using technology to solve that issue, willingness as well as the ability. So that is something that we really think that is missing in many parts of financial services. And we know that simplicity actually is the best thing in terms of solving complex issues. So that's why when Cellou and I, when we look at this and we pivoted a few times and we discovered that if we can explain this thing in 30 seconds and people understood it well, then we say that this is really great. Because if that is understandable in a layman's term without going into the complexity of the technology, and if the man on the street understood this well, that means anyone can understand this. And this is something that really can scale anywhere, because as long as we can stay true to the principle of what we are doing, we can solve a lot of problems, actually.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Cellou and Ridzuan, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Give us an insight into not just RollingPay, but also the challenges that SMEs, small business owners face, and the solutions that you have. Well, thank you so much again, and great to have both of you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.